Yeah, what's up, people out there in YouTube land? Nowadays, Marvel has been putting out nothing but bad product. Some people don't didn't really feel Endgame, but I kind of like that. I liked it. I'm to the point where it's like it is what it is kind of thing with a lot of stuff. But the last couple of movies for Disney Marvel has been like very terrible. So I got my own opinion on this kind of stuff. It's always interesting to see what other people's opinion on the state of Disney right now. So a video I'm gonna check out is Nerdrotics Disney Marvel admits failure, plans more failure. So his videos tend to be good, so let's check it out. Here we go.
In our zeal to basically grow our content significantly to serve our mostly our streaming offerings.
Ooh, man, look at these budgets. When you look at these movies, it's like, how did they spend this much money on this thing? Like, you can kind of see that in Guardians. I didn't see Little Mermaid. Had no interest in that. Had no more interest in that, and it was 300 million. Wow. So
We ended up taxing our people way beyond, in terms of their time and their focus, way beyond where they had been. Marvel's a great example of that. And frankly, it diluted focus and attention.
The performance of some of our recent films has definitely been disappointing, and we don't take that lightly. And as you'd expect, we're very focused on...
Disappointing. The Marvels made $206 million on like a $250 to $300 million budget. That is not disappointing. That is devastating.
Improving the quality and the performance of the films that we've got coming up. It's something that I'm working closely with the studio on. I'm personally committed to spending more time and attention on that as well.
What are you going to do?
Reducing output overall to enable us to concentrate on fewer projects and improve quality.
I've always felt that quantity can be actually a negative when it comes to quality, and I think that's exactly what happened. We lost some focus.
Definite mistake. Quality needs attention to deliver quality. Doesn't happen by accident. And quantity, in our case, diluted quality, and Marvel suffered greatly from that.
You know, volume sometimes can be detrimental to quality, and in our zeal to greatly increase volume, partially tied to wanting to chase more global subs for our streaming platform, some of our studios lost a little focus. So the first step that we've taken is that we've reduced volume. We've reduced output, particularly at Marvel.
All right, sometimes you got to sit back in awe at the copious amounts of corporate speak that corporations in general and this dude in specific can spit out, saying a lot of stuff but not actually saying shit. It's actually amazing. And this dude gets paid millions of dollars to do this. It's bravo. It's beautiful. So let's see what Neurotic got to say.
Greetings, you over 1 million awakening wonders and the 40% who haven't subscribed yet. You know, they say that the first step to recovery is admitting you have a problem. This brings us to Disney and Disney
I don't think
Marvel,
Disney can do that.
because I got some breaking news. For the 6th time in a row, Bob Iger, particularly when it comes to Marvel, has said he's going to focus on quality over quantity. Now, of course, you're already admitting that what you had been putting out was not quality, which we all know. And this was a surprising statement the first time we heard it early last year. So instead of Disney admitting they have a problem, it's starting to sound a lot like they are just telling you what they want you to hear. And that's the gambit. Unfortunately for Disney, but fortunately for us who enjoy Disney Schadenfreude, just days after Deadline reported that Disney crapped out 4 of the 5 biggest bombs of 2023, which include Haunted Mansion, Wish, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Dysentery, and The Marvels. Bob Iger decided to follow up with a bomb of his own with the Disney's quarterly earnings call, which led to a hell of a lot of spin and a loss of 10% of their stock. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention.
All right, you got to keep that in mind that 10% of their stock is significant. That's a lot. And nothing that he is saying or what they're doing gives any indication of they're going to steer the ship in the right direction, because they just announced that they're going to do a female-led X-Men movie. right after the Marvels tanked. So again, you just have to sit back and just watch in awe as this company that's been around for 100 years is killing itself in about 5 to 10 years. It's amazing.
It's just a month after the Nelson Peltz proxy battle, which gave the stock a bump. And now the stockholders got exactly what they voted for. More failure. So much so that Bob Iger had to essentially admit to it for the 6th time. And Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios co-president Luis Esposito had to do so as well. Now theirs was followed up with a lot of cope, but Bob Iger decided to say some of the quiet parts out loud and throw a couple of projects under the bus. And props to financial analyst Ben from Morgan Stanley for asking this question.
And then I would love to just get your perspective on sort of the health of the IP at your studios. I know we've talked about this a lot since you've come back into the CEO role, but you have specifically a lot of Marvel content coming both on TV and film over the next couple of years. That's an area investors are particularly, focused
I'm just
on.
noticing this
How are you
face.
feeling about the sort of pipeline on the Marvel side specifically, and whether you think this IP is being reinvigorated to the extent you'd like it to be?
Not to state the obvious, but if any investors or stockholders were concerned about the Marvel sewage pipeline that Disney's been splooging out, maybe you shouldn't have voted for more of the same. But let's hear what Bob has to say.
One more time.
I've been working hard with the studio to reduce output and focus more on quality. That's particularly true with Marvel.
Yes, we've heard that many, many, many times. But it's what he says next, if you listen very carefully, that throws a couple of future projects under the bus.
I know you mentioned television shows. Some of what is coming up is a vestige of basically a desire in the past to increase volume. We're slowly going to decrease volume.
Oh, well, now what could you be talking about? Maybe Agatha, whatever the hell it's titled now, that's been completed for months and delayed multiple times? Or how about Ironheart, which has been completed for a year and a half, which has been delayed multiple times? And yes, we can include Echo, which after it was released all at once, it was never to be heard from again because it never had a leg to stand on. But that's not.
Yeah, I saw what you did there. That show was terrible. Yeah, it was bad.
Not all. The Weatherman plans to reduce
I did enjoy Loki for what it was.
Marvel's output to the same exact output that they crapped out in 2023.
And go to probably about 2 TV series a year instead of what had become 4, and reduce our film output from maybe 4 a year to 2 to the maximum 3.
Now, of course, Bobby already brought up the one positive, Deadpool and Wolverine, which we will get to. And then he talks about what follows, the 2 good films in 2025 that apparently weren't good enough to name.
And we're working hard on what that path is. We've got a couple of good films in 25, and then we're heading to more Avengers, which we're extremely excited about.
You mean these Avengers? And those 2 unnamed films are a Captain America sequel without Captain America and a Thunderbolts film without the original Thunderbolts from the comics, which is essentially a Suicide Squad for Marvel. And we know how well the Suicide Squad films and game did for DC. But after the bomb that was the Marvels, after years of denials, Kevin Feige was forced to admit failure. Kind of. Kevin Feige admits Marvel failures. I just like saying that. And plans to exceed expectations in 2024. Well, we'll see.
That should be very easy because expectations for Marvel movies right now are very low. Most people expect crap. So if they get something that's not crap, like I enjoyed the Guardians of the Galaxy 3, but a lot of people thought it was kind of eh. So it's like the bar is set so low. So hey, all they can do is go up. So
about that. Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige and co-president Luis D'Esposito, who quite frankly did most of the admitting, have acknowledged the problems with the MCU projects in recent years. The 2 admitted that Marvel had diluted itself in its plan to expand and have suggested countermeasures to fix things in the future. But like I just said, it was actually Marvel Studios co-president Luis D'Esposito who admitted to Empire Magazine that it's been a rough time for the Marvel Cinematic Universe following a rocky 2023 that included box office flops like Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania and The Marvels. The latter title is the lowest grossing MCU film of all time with just $206 million worldwide. Marvel didn't fare better in television, where series such as Secret Invasion were widely panned by critics.
Secret Invasion could have been What people were imagining was a spy thriller with Samuel L. Jackson, right? I know he's not what he used to be, but still, you could have made that a very, very interesting thing. But what we got was a show where everyone tells Nick Fury he ain't shit. Like everybody. Then you introduce a Skrull into this equation, which screwed up your entire timeline before the movies that everybody hate. Like back to the movies everybody love, you stuck a weird thing in the middle of that because you allowed very poor writers to write that show who clearly hate men and hate the Marvel Universe. So I'm shocked. No, actually, I'm not shocked.
Deservedly so. But here comes the cope. According to D'Esposito, if we had just stayed on top, that would have been the worst thing that could have happened to us. We took a little hit. We're coming back strong.
Cope.
WTF, Gary. WTF. What the fuck does WTF mean? What the fuck? Oh,
a little hit, huh? Well, let's talk about the 9 films that Disney has produced since Endgame, starting with 2021. Black Widow, where the lead actress sued Marvel. Shang-Chi and the Eternals all underperformed, and it was all blamed on COVID until the Sony-produced Spider-Man No Way Home blew away that argument. Then there was 2022 with Doctor Strange Mom, Thor Love and Blunder, and Black Panther Wakanda Forever. 3
Doctor Strange Mom. Yeah. Mom. You had to have watched all the TV shows to even have a good idea of what was going on in Doctor Strange. So it was essentially a sequel to a television show most people who go to these movies never watch. I don't know who thought that would be a good idea. I don't know.
Horrible films that did generate some revenue, but thanks to the bloated budgets, not a lot of profit. And we've already talked about 2023 with Antifa Man and the Marvels, but it did feature the one film since Endgame that most people generally liked and actually made some money. A holdover from the old days, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And of the 9 live-action D+ series,
9. Damn, that's a lot.
Only one has gotten a second season, and it was awful. Loki. Maybe when you do too much, you dilute yourself a little bit, D'Esposito added. We're not going to allow that cope here. It's not about how much you produced. It was how much crap you produced. We're not going to do that anymore. We learned our lesson. Words are wind.
That's about all the worst I can take.
Now, I've actually heard this admission of failure attributed to Kevin Feige, but it actually comes from Deadpool and Wolverine director Sean Levy. Speaking with Empire, Levy is hoping to reignite the Marvel Cinematic Universe with this year's Deadpool and Wolverine and promises that the multiverse adventure will be something different. You have to be living under a rock not to know that the last few Marvel movies have failed to ignite the world in the way that so many did. Now, the closest Kevin Feige comes to admitting anything is when he's talking about Deadpool and Wolverine. It's nice to be able to rally behind one feature project this year, Feige said. Hey, I wonder who's responsible for putting out all of those projects. Could it have been the head of Marvel Studios, Kevin Feige? I'm much more comfortable being the underdog. I prefer being able to surprise and exceed expectations.
The fact that he said that, Marvel was in the spot. They did something that no other studio could pull off. They had a series, they had an entire universe of things attached to each other, and they were crapping out gold. Even the movies that people didn't like or still made money. And the fact that this dude is like, I'm like, he does not like being an underdog. You cannot enjoy the status that they were at and really feel like this. So this is BS.
So it does seem like the last year, which has not been ideal, has set us up well for that. Okay, you know what? It's all cleared up.
That's a crap.
They meant to fail so they could succeed again by making all the same mistakes they made before.
I'm so confused.
But this brings us to Deadpool, which will be the much needed win that the MCU needs. Now, there's a saying in Hollywood, you're just one good movie away from turning things around. Unfortunately, that's not the case with the MCU. They're about 2 or 3. But if they really want to save the MCU, Deadpool and Wolverine can't just be self-deprecating. It needs to lean into the meme, because that's what Disney Marvel has become.
Mind putting your mask back on? Super hard to eat while I'm wearing it. It's super hard to eat when you're not. Paul Rudd finally aged. Pegging isn't new for me, friendo, but it is for Disney. I smell what you're stepping in, Sensei. Your little cinematic universe is about to change forever. I am Marvel Jesus.
And that's good, but I think they should really lean into the meme.
cannot wait for that
example, make a joke like, who left the X-Babies with Bryan Singer? Or hell, even acknowledge that 2 former X-Men directors have fled to Genosha to avoid allegations. Have Deadpool land in the MCU timeline, which just so happens to be the very same timeline that America Chavez's moms come from. It would be a feminist idiocracy. There are endless possibilities, but in all seriousness, Deadpool and Wolverine looks pretty good, and I'm looking forward to it. It will probably be the only film that cracks $1 billion this year worldwide. Unfortunately, it's what comes next. Captain Black Falcon America, the Thunderbolts, featuring heavy hitters like the gender-swapped Ghost and the gender-swapped Taskmaster, holdovers like Agatha and Ironheart, which again Bob Iger essentially admitted were garbage, Fantastic Four, which initially had promising casting until the female Silver Surfer. It's been 5 years since Blade was announced, and they still can't figure out that they should just make a movie about Blade hunting vampires. And the one good thing they have out, X-Men 97, they fired the writer Beau DeMayo. And that's just Marvel. What wasn't mentioned at all in that quarterly earnings call was Star Wars. For good reason, the last 3 Disney Star Wars trailers they put on YouTube all got ratioed. The first Acolyte trailer, Star Wars Outlaws, and the second Acolyte trailer.
Damn, I know it was that bad. 190. Ooh, that's bad.
Which was released on Star Wars Day.
Yes, yes.
But not to worry, Bobby Iger is slowing down that volume by releasing 6 more films this year, which are all either prequels or sequels, and 3 of them are Fox holdovers.
I feel great about the slate coming up, including 3 of the big movies that we have with Planet of the Apes this weekend, followed by Inside Out 2, which is a great film, and then Deadpool, you mentioned Marvel, Ben, coming in July. And then the end of the year, we've got, we have Alien the end of the summer, and then we've got Moana 2 and Mufasa at the end of the year.
Speaking of ratioed trailers, Mufasa's getting destroyed so much so, they had to remove the comment section. But it's Bob Iger's next comment that really describes everything you need to know about the very sad state of Disney Marvel, Disney Star Wars, Disney Pixar, and Disney.
So overall, I feel great about the slate. It's something, as you know, that I've committed to spending more and more time on. The team is, I think, one that I have tremendous confidence in, and the IP that we're mining.
What did you say?
And the IP that we're mining.
IP mining. Old Bob said the quiet part out loud, and quite frankly, it's the best description of everything wrong with Hollywood right now. So I thank you for your honesty, but you'll have to forgive me for being skeptical. Talk is cheap. I suppose we'll find out in 2027 if they turn things around, but until then, just looks like more of the same. Disney Marvel admits failure, plans more failure.
Dirterotic.com.
No, that was pretty interesting. I kind of agree with most of that. You know, he's blackpilled way more on some stuff than I am. Kind of take stuff for what it is, you know. But the idea that you have the person who is responsible for putting you in the situation that you find yourself in, who can't seem to accept accountability for his decisions, so therefore won't really change much, and have that person not only survive what happened with Nelson Peltz, which made him believe that he has like I guess you could say a mandate to continue doing the path that he's going down, and completely ignore reality. And the reality is, which is, I think like 70% of people polled in some poll don't like the direction Disney is going in and want it to go back to what it was. But everything that they're announcing is telling me that no, they're not doing that. So I don't know. It is going to be interesting. I'm going to enjoy talking about it. So I'm glad that anybody who checks this out and you watch to the end, please join me on this journey. That'd be awesome. So please like, share, and subscribe and all that fun stuff. And I am out. Peace.